Good evening. Welcome back to Inside Asia. We will continue the second portion of the conversation I have with Ambassador Anil Wadhwa about the prospect of ASEAN-India relations. So being India is on the rise, and oftentimes because of the extensive relation ASEAN has with other dialogue partners, for example, Japan, China, South Korea, and some of the Western world. ASEAN always compare the grouping relations with other countries, particularly with China. And India always come into the pictures. Do you think it's fair to compare India and China, whatever China has done to ASEAN? People always put into that sort of a comparative perspective, saying that China has done that, India hasn't started yet.
I think it's only natural that when you're dealing with a grouping such as this, and you have two larger neighboring countries who are engaged with you, that you start this comparison. But we are not in competition with China. We are India and China is China. And China has its own relationship with ASEAN, its own policies, and we follow our own policies and relationship. As I told you, we have a relationship which is based on different fundamentals and different foundations. But at the same time, I'm sure both of us have the desire of expanding this relationship. How we do it, the modalities will differ. And we have our modalities which we feel are on the right track, and it will eventually be a very solid foundation on which our relationship with ASEAN will be based.
But India has to do a lot of catching up. For example, the trade figures you mentioned, in the future it could be improved to 50 billion, for example, agreements in the future with ASEAN. Mm-hmm. I read somewhere, but China will grow leaps and bounds over the trade volumes.
Yes. Well, we have to look at the nature of our economies as well. First of all, I already prefaced this by saying that we are not in competition with China. We have a different kind of relationship with different countries. But let me also say that in India, we have a large domestic market. We have a large consumer class. And for us, the economy is not export-based economy. And that's why we were able to absorb the shocks of the world economic recession easily and world economic turmoil easily. The situation has not changed today. I think the export component in our economic system is a small component. We certainly would like to see more exports and more trade with the outside world. There's no doubt about it. But one of the factors that we feel makes us a smaller player in world trade is because we have a larger domestic economy. And the people who manufacture in India have to take care of the domestic economy first before they look at the outside world. Both have their own place, and both are important. If you look at the overall figures and the overall growth, if we are growing properly, I think we should be satisfied with that.
Are you aware that within ASEAN, when they talk about India and China in our body's politics, we always tell ourselves we are using India as a counterbalance against China, and then use China as a counterbalance against India and the rest of the West, for instance, the United States. Right. Can you comment on that? Because oftentimes in our thinking, we view that India as the left fuselage and China as a right fuselage, that we try to balance so that we can fly.
Again, as I said, it's only natural that you do that, but we don't look at our relationship with China in that respect. We would not like to be a balancing force to China. We are on our own. We have our own relationships. We want to strengthen our own relationship with ASEAN. Of course, if it helps the countries in the region to follow certain policies in which they can benefit with that relationship with both countries, we are very happy with that situation. And we do know that because of our higher growth rates as compared to the rest of the world, we have a certain influence on the economic situation in our neighboring countries, with ASEAN, and also with the rest of the world. And we certainly hope that the overall world economic situation continues to improve. We play our role in that, and so that everybody feels happy with the situation. And that is our only aim.
I see. Let's move to the country that's close to you and close to Thailand, Myanmar.
Mm-hmm.
And Myanmar used to be the thorn in the relation between Thailand and, of course, the ASEAN as a whole with India, because you used to pursue different policy.
Mm.
But now with the reforms in Myanmar, how do you see the prospect of India helping Burma and also in cooperation with ASEAN? Because it seems to me that Myanmar need a lot of assistance from ASEAN friends.
Yes, you're right. I think it's a very good development that Myanmar has got integrated with ASEAN, first of all, and thereafter is now getting slowly integrated fully with the outside world. It's good for the people of Myanmar, it's good for the stability of the region. As far as we are concerned, we have maintained a cordial relationship with Myanmar over the years, and we already have a number of cooperative projects with Myanmar. We hope that the new reform process will open up the economy even more and allow us some more widespread exchanges, perhaps in collaboration with ASEAN countries, possibly in collaboration with Thailand, if that can work out, because we are neighboring countries. And we wish Myanmar all the best, and we are sure that they are a very talented country with vast amount of natural resources, and with integration with the rest of the world, they would certainly develop further.
Are there any concrete cooperation scheme that India is helping Burma at this time? For example, in the areas of economic, SME, and other things?
Yes, we've had an ongoing bilateral relationship which is very, very fruitful. It covers a lot of areas, and you mentioned small-scale economic cooperation. That has also been there for some time. We also cooperate in the fields of petroleum, natural resources, in terms of our bilateral investments, and also we have some investments and projects in Myanmar for connectivity, road connectivity, for instance, which is also part of the ASEAN overall connectivity. So all these we hope will increase in the future, and that will help all of us in the process.
Yeah. But there is one area that India seems to be disconnected with ASEAN, is on the issue of nuclear cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
A few years back, 2 years ago, for the first time, ASEAN has made appeals to both India and Pakistan for exchanging of information with ASEAN on peaceful use of nuclear. So far, ASEAN has not yet approached India or Pakistan officially for that kinds of information exchange. Just one more information is that now the big five nuclear power have already agreed to sign the protocol of Shanghai Southeast Asia weapon-free zones, maybe in these coming years. So what is your thoughts on this, on the overall relation between India and ASEAN on the issue of nuclear cooperation? I mean, I'm pretty well aware of India's positions on nuclear and the issue of non-proliferation. But there is one area that India seems to be disconnected with ASEAN is on the issue of nuclear cooperation. A few years back, 2 years ago, for the first time, ASEAN has made appeals to both India and Pakistan for exchanging of information with ASEAN on peaceful use of nuclear. So far, ASEAN has not yet approached India or Pakistan officially for that kinds of information exchange. Just one more information is that now the big five nuclear power have already agreed to sign the protocol of Shanghai Southeast Asia weapon-free zones, maybe in these coming years. So what is your thoughts on this, on the overall relation between India and ASEAN on the issue of nuclear cooperation? I mean, I'm pretty well aware of India's positions on nuclear and the issue of non-proliferation.
India is very happy to cooperate with any country in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy and also in the peaceful uses of outer space. We have offered our expertise, whatever we have, to all our friends. And if anybody approaches us with concrete proposals, we are ready to collaborate and to enter into any kind of agreement which will help both our sides. You also mentioned about the issue of the regional nuclear treaty. Since you know our stand on nuclear disarmament, you know that India stands for universal nuclear disarmament. Our view is that limited agreements cannot solve this problem, that you could give yourself the assurance that the region is secure, but today the whole world is nuclearized. There are nuclear weapons on sea, there are nuclear weapons on land, and there are nuclear weapons which can be used from the air. So no region can be isolated from this threat. Therefore, we've been strongly advocating global nuclear disarmament, which can be monitored through a verifiable treaty, universal treaty, which everybody should participate in.
It is still a long way to go.
Well, this is a possibility because theoretical possibility, but there should be political will for doing it. I'll give you an example of the Chemical Weapons Convention, where I myself was involved in, and it was a treaty which nobody gave any chance to, but actually the treaty has worked very well, and today there are close to 187 countries who are parties to this treaty, and it has resulted in disarmament of chemical weapons around the world, of countries who are possessors of chemical weapons under a verifiable regime, which goes to show that something like that is possible if there is a political will to do so. So this is our stand, and I think we would like to believe that that is the only way out of getting the world rid of nuclear weapons.
But in reality, how many countries share this perspective?
We have a number of countries who share this perspective. I would say if you take the count in the world today, you will have at least 2/3 of the globe which will share this perspective. And I think it's only the nuclear weapon states some of whom would like to continue with the status quo, but others would be very happy if there was such a treaty which would come about, because the world would be a safer place.
With that, I mean, it's very important that if there is a nuclear-free world, then the position of India in the global community will enhance. So my next question is connected to India's long plan to become a member of the UN Security Council. You still hold on that dream and work toward that objective?
Yes, I think it's not just a dream. I think India is eminently qualified to become a permanent member of a reformed UN Security Council. We have been advancing these reasons for years now. We have a strong support in the United Nations membership.
How many countries then? Is that a secret or not?
I don't think we have a count of that kind. I don't think we would like to do a count also. As far as we are concerned, we have widespread support from all continents. And as you know, the G4 resolution, which includes Japan, India, Germany and Brazil, enjoys a lot of support. It is perhaps today the only widespread resolution which can be supported by a majority of countries if it comes to a vote. But as you know, the Charter of the United Nations has to be amended with the concurrence of the permanent members of the UN, current members of the UN Security Council. And therefore, we need consensus and we need full concurrence of the membership of the United Nations. We are not in a hurry to push this. We feel that our time will come. We have 1/6 of the humanity living in India. We have helped the United Nations over the years in many areas, especially in peacekeeping operations. And we believe in the principles of United Nations. We also believe that the time has come to reform the United Nations, because today is not 1945, we are in 2011 and soon 2012 now. And therefore, we have to make sure that these changes are brought about in the way that the UN functions. The membership of the UN itself has grown to 193 countries today from what it used to be.
So toward the end of this year, when there is a summit between ASEAN and India, will the Indian leaders push for ASEAN consensus on India bids for UN Security Council?
I think we are not looking for an endorsement of that sort
common position
at the summit. No, frankly not. I think we have let everybody evolve their own position. We don't want to force anybody to take a position on this, because we feel that we have the right credentials. And sooner or later, everybody would come to realize that themselves. So we don't want to make sure that we use a summit of this nature to push our position on important issues such as these. Everybody has their right to make up their own minds. But we know that a majority of countries in ASEAN already have clearly enunciated themselves in our favor.
Because you have one more country that is a big contender, Japan. Mm-hmm. So Japan always enter into the picture whenever ASEAN discuss about India's bid.
We've actually put forward a bid in collaboration with Japan. As you know, the G4 resolution has Japan as an important country.
But you can only have one. You cannot have both.
No, it's
can
not.
We have both?
No, we can have both. There's no
notation
hard
or what?
No, there's no hard or fast rule about it. I think the expansion of the UN Security Council permanent membership has to be based on countries who deserve to be there, and we have to look at all aspects of that country's standing in the world and what the country has been about in the past since the last time that the UN Security Council was set up, which was 1945.
My last question is on India as the world's largest democracy. Mm-hmm. When you look toward the future horizons, what India can do to promote or to encourage democracy, openness in Asia? I'm not saying around the world, because India seems to me never have a policy to promote its own brand of Asian democracy at all. But in looking at the horizon, there are numbers of democratic countries these days. Yes. So what should be the role of India as the world's largest democracy?
Well, we are an active member of the community of democracies, and we fully support this movement, of course. But at the same time, as you rightly said, we don't want to enforce democracy on every other country. We feel every country has a right to choose the model that they want to live with and the model that they're comfortable with. We have shades of democracies all over the world. We have different kinds of people who rule different countries, but the people, as long as the people are happy with that system, we have no problems with that. And I think it's sometimes it's counterproductive to force your views on others when they are perfectly happy with the kind of system that they live with. Having said that, I think democracy has its own values. It brings about a lot of openness. Today's world is very interconnected, it's globalized, and this openness is very important. And therefore, we share these values with a number of countries today, and we would like those to be preserved in future. So we do what we can, and we have a number of exchanges with our fellow countries in the community of democracies and others who want to share open values with our country.
For example, Indonesia now try to encourage other ASEAN countries to follow democratic models within ASEAN country. For example, later this year, Indonesia will establish the so-called Bali Summit for Democracy, which is something rather unusual given it's the 13 years of democratic experience. I mean, this sort of things that, don't you think India has a role to play, to cooperate, to encourage and promote good practices?
I think we certainly would support, that kind of movement because if Indonesia finds a merit in democracy and they're happy with the system and they feel that they should be promoted, we will certainly be very supportive of that. We don't feel, however, that this is something that can be imposed from outside. It has to evolve from within, and countries have to evolve that system from the people themselves, because that's the basis of all democracies.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Ambassador Anil.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. I hope you enjoyed the program and have some insight over the future ASEAN-India relations. Good night. สวัสดีครับ